You're in the trenches with Dave Lapham, brought to you by First Star Logistics. This is Dave Lapham post-game comments after the Bengals win 27-15 over the then undefeated Miami Dolphins. And Dave, first things first, we have to talk about what happened with Tua. That's going to be I think, talked about more than the Bengals win as far as on a national scene.
Oh, yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, Tua was nicked up, coming into the football game. He had, it was questionable. Did he have a concussion? Did he not? Back injury, they were talking about was the thing that was his major problem. But he left the stadium, went to the hospital with head and neck injuries. He has been released. He has flown home with the team, so that's all good news. He didn't have to stay overnight for any observation or anything else. He had full movement and motion in all his extremities when they took him to the hospital, when they checked him en route to the hospital. So he took a shot, though. I mean, there's no question about it. He got ragdolled to the ground and landed on his backside shoulder, and then his head, hit the ground and snapped up like it did last week. I mean, for that to happen 2 straight weeks is almost a cruel coincidence. There's no question about that. But I thought Tupou played himself a pretty good game. I thought he played the run pretty darn well, and that was his first sack, and it was a big one because obviously with the injury, you never hope for somebody to get hurt. But the fact that it did occur on that play, was a factor in the football game. There's no question.
I think everybody always talks offense. I want to stay with defense. You talk about Tupou, but Lou Anarumo's defense, again, comes up big. Vonn Bell, 2 interceptions tonight.
Vonn Bell had 2 interceptions in high school, never had 2 interceptions in a game at the collegiate level or in the National Football League. So that was good. That was good for him to experience that on a nationally televised game. I mean, I thought those were obviously huge factors in the football game. With the defense, let's look at them. In week 1 against Pittsburgh, the offense turned it over 5 times, but equally insignificant is the defense had no takeaways. And, you lose a football game you should have won, it was because of that -5. Well, fast forward to this football game, Vonn Bell's got the 2 interceptions. The offense doesn't turn it over at all. And now instead of -5 after week 1, they're +1 after week 4. So they've climbed their way back into the plus department in the turnover ratio. They've got 1 more takeaway than they have a giveaway. And starting from where they started off from, that's fairly significant. And, they've won the turnover battle in their last 2 games in the victories, and they won the turnover battle in their second game that they lost by 1. But that's a constant. You win the turnover ratio, you're going to win a high percentage of games in the National Football League. So that's preached, on a weekly basis. There's no question about that. I thought another factor in the football game on 3rd down. In the first half, the Dolphins were 1 for 4. In the second half, 1 for 6 on 3rd down. 2 for 10 overall, 3rd down conversion. So every time that defensive football team got them to a reasonable, down and distance on 3rd down, they got the Dolphins off the football field. And I thought it was pretty big in the first couple of drives of the second half. 1, 2, 3 and out. They had 3 and outs, I believe, in the second half of the game. And they basically had the bend but don't break. The Dolphins started the 10-yard line, drive all the way down inside the 5-yard line. And they bull their neck and hold it to a field goal opportunity. And so then you look at the other factor, which is always big, is red zone. And the Miami Dolphins score 1 touchdown and 3 red zone opportunities and have to settle for 2 field goals and only 1 for 3, 33% touchdown conversion. The Bengals, 3 red zone opportunities, they score 2 touchdowns and kick a field goal. They go 66%. So that was a big deal in the football game. There's no doubt. And the other thing, Dave, special teams. I mean, the Dolphins have a field goal blocked by the Bengals, and they missed an extra point. They left 4 points in the field in a game that was very, very close. It ended up being a 2-score game, but it was anybody's football game. In the final 6 minutes, I think it's still a 2-point game. So those were big plays by special teams. So honestly, it was another complimentary performance. The offense did enough. Special teams assisted. But the group, like you say, Dave, that has been the most consistent week in and week out of the three phases, by far the defense. And as the old saying goes, it doesn't matter how many yards you accumulate, how many points you're putting on the board. And Lou Anarumo's crew has allowed 4 touchdowns in 4 games. They've given up 5 touchdowns, but one was a pick 6 on Joe Burrow, the second play of the season. So 4 touchdowns in 4 football games, defense allowing, that's going to win you a ton of football games in the National Football League.
Yeah, and you got on the edge there, the H&H boys, as you call them, Hubbard and Hendrickson, they create havoc, and they were doing that tonight. And then you add in the play of Logan Wilson at linebacker. I mean, this Logan Wilson should be getting Pro Bowl talk all this season with the way he's playing right now.
3rd and 1, for him to have that big play, that downhill stuff him on 3rd and 1 was massive. I agree with you. They're playing good football at all 3 levels. I think complementary football, you can say on that defensive side of it as well. I think up front they're doing what they're supposed to do, and the linebackers are where they're supposed to be when they're supposed to be there, and on the back end they're communicating very well, and they're passing things off in a timely fashion on that back end. I thought a big difference in this football game, a lot of talk about Hill and Waddle, rightfully so. I mean, they both run sub 4.3 40s. So it's like, man, this is an Olympic track team out there. Well, Hill had his moments. He had 10 catches, 160 yards. He had a big 64-yarder where, Cheeto was like battling for that. He made a great play on it, but the coverage wasn't terrible. It wasn't like he was wide open running free down the football field. That was a huge play. That was, a big chunk of his 160 yards, and he had another 26-yarder, so 86 of it came in 2 catches. So they did a decent job on him. And then Waddle couldn't compliment Hill. I mean, Waddle had 2 catches for 39 yards. So they controlled him. And the Bengals trio, though, didn't get as much, everybody's talking about the twosome that the Dolphins had. How about the Bengals trio? Higgins, they're doubling Jamar Chase, and they're doubling Tyler Boyd in the slot. They're letting Higgins play man coverage out there on Howard. And so when Joe Burrow saw that, here we go. You're the guy. You're the one that gets man coverage. You got to win, Burrow. Go out there and win on your routes. 7 catches, 124 yards, 59-yard touchdown. So he has a big explosive play. Tyler Boyd has a pass completion of 23 yards on the backward pass, the double pass. Then he has a catch for 43. Chase catches the ball from Boyd for 23 yards. He has another catch for 36. So he has 4 catches for 81 yards. He averaged over 20 yards a catch. He had the best yards per catch average, on the night. So the trio was better than the duo, and I think that was a big factor in the outcome of the football game.
Dave, as a former offensive lineman, you had to be excited on that first drive with the touchdown, as the offensive line would not be denied, got Joe Mixon into the end zone.
No doubt, Dave. The 5-yard touchdown run was like Joe Mixon body surfed the offensive line well into the end zone. I mean, it was it was probably a 12-yard run when you count the 7 yards into the end zone. By the time the whole surge ended, they were more than halfway into the end zone. So that was a thing of beauty. And there was a carryover because at the end of the prior game, they decided to go big, and they put Adeniji in there at the tight end, and they put in 2 other tight ends. They have 13 package, 1 running back, 3 tight ends, one of them an extra offensive lineman, 6 linemen. And they get the ball with about 10 minutes to go in the victory last week, and they ran 12 plays. And in eight minutes of the clock, they were trying to run all 10 minutes off the clock and take a knee in the victory formation. That was their goal, and they came up short. They missed a 41-yard field goal, but P. Ryan ran it 8 times in that drive, averaged over 5 yards a carry, and they just pounded people, and it carried over into that first drive when they were in 3rd and 1, and then the 3rd and 1 at the goal line where they just cruised into the end zone like that, like a tidal wave, and they converted. They had 5 3rd and 1s. They converted every one of them. But the disappointing thing, Dave, still that was good low red zone running, but they got stuffed on a low red zone run on 4th and 1. They get stopped on 3rd and 1. They're going to have to do a more consistent job on that low red zone running. There's no question about that. But on 3rd down, the Bengals ended up being 8 for 15 on 3rd down, and the first 3 third downs were all 3rd and 1. They converted their first 5 third down conversions. All 5 of those were 3rd and 1. So you get yourself in that kind of a situation, you're going to be in pretty good shape. But they had 3rd and goal at the 1 yard line, didn't get it done, and 3rd and goal at the 2 yard line. They threw the football and had the touchdown pass to Hurst. That's a guy I'd like to mention as well, Dave. You know, you talk about the trio at the wide receiver position. I was interested tonight to see who was going to have the better game, Gesicki or Hurst, because, you know, you get these receivers that they're going to garner a lot of attention. Tight end could step up big for you. Hurst numbers aren't huge, 3 catches for 27 yards, but that 19-yard catch he had where it was 3rd down, and Joe hits him on a little 3-yard route, and he busted for 16 more yards after catch, real physical, got up all psyched up. The crowd was going nuts. His teammates were feeding off of it. He has the 2-yard touchdown catch. His catches, all 3 of his catches were really important, and I thought he stepped up and had a football game as well that that he could be proud of. And I think his arrow is going up. I think he's improving every week and getting more and more comfortable and familiar with what they want out of him offensively.
You're in the trenches with Dave Lapham talking about the Bengals' big 27-15 win to move to 2-2 on the season. And Dave, I agree with you totally on Hayden Hurst. Man, I'm excited to see what he's going to bring the rest of the season because he can be explosive. He's got that quick twitch. That's what we've been told about him. That's what we've seen.
Yep.
Now you're starting to see it on the field in games. That brings me to this, Dave. At the beginning of the preseason, we knew the starters were not going to play any. This team looks like it's now in the NFL. It's in that mode of it's the season now. It took them a little while. A little sluggish week 1, week 2, and it kind of suffered a little bit with the 2 losses. But it looks like things are starting to rev up. Joe Burrow starting to get more of that timing tonight. 20 of 31, 282, 2 touchdowns, 1 sack. That has to be encouraging as they get a few extra days off before they go into AFC North play against the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, that's going to be a massive game in Baltimore, Sunday Night Football. All 3 of the division games are on the road, and they're all nationally televised. Sunday night, Monday night, I mean, it's going to be crazy. So this is the first one, and Lamar Jackson basically said, "I'm betting on myself," and he put all the chips in the middle of the table. His value's going up on a weekly basis. This guy has accounted for 12 touchdowns in the first 3 games of the season, 10 passing, 2 rushing. It's more touchdowns than all but 1 team in the NFL has scored. I mean, unbelievable. This guy is just putting the team on his shoulders and saying, follow me, because defensively, uncharacteristically, they're struggling, particularly in the back end. Look at the way Miami took them apart. Down 21 points in the fourth quarter, they blew coverages and, big touchdowns are allowed. They gave up to Hill and Waddle, and they lose that football game. So, the Bengals defense is going to have to, Lou Anarumo is going to have to come up with another gem. I mean, he'll be creative now, and he's got, Sam Hubbards of the world that he can play positionless football. He had him playing at the linebacker position, spying Lamar Jackson in the past. He's had Logan Wilson spying him. He's had Akeem Davis-Gaither spying him. He's got a bunch of guys that he can utilize to spy him at that level, and he can even put like a Vonn Bell. You have to make sure that not only can you run with him, you have to be able to get him on the ground, and he's got multiple guys that he can do that with. So he's had 5 defensive lineman packages against the Ravens to control Lamar Jackson's running game and make him throw the football. He's thrown the football very well this year. It's going to be very interesting to see what he comes up with, the creativity, the versatility, how he's going to move his chess pieces of positionless players around, give Lamar Jackson one look pre-snap, another look totally different on post-snap, because he doesn't have to substitute to give him these different looks, because these guys can do so many different things because of their athleticism and their versatility of the athleticism. It's going to be very interesting. But offensively, they're going to have to be more consistent, Dave. It might be a shootout. I mean, Lamar Jackson, the way he's playing, you might have to win a game, 28-24, something like that. So, but this defensive football team is fun to watch. And when you look at it, the one thing in 4 football games, that's 16 quarters, actually almost 17 quarters because of overtime. So almost 17 quarters of football, they've played backups all but almost 2 quarters because, Tua goes down before the second quarter's over, about 5 minutes left in the second quarter. Other than that quarter and, in 10 minutes, 25 minutes of football, 25 minutes of football, it's been backups all the rest of the time. So now you're going to go against an MVP candidate. And that's a different deal. That's a different ball game. And so they're going to have to really sharpen their game plan, sharpen their execution, sharpen everything, because you're going to go into Baltimore and play a guy that's playing for his contractual life.
Dave, one thing I saw tonight on defense, let's stay there, was the play of some of the younger guys. You get into Cam Sample, Gunter, Carter, Osei. I mean, those guys are stepping forward, making some plays here and there that plays a big role in the overall success of this defense.
There's no question. I mean, the more players you have in a rotation, the fresher you can keep your players, the better off you're going to be. There's no doubt about it. I mean, plus the fact that at some point in time, you hope it's not going to be a catastrophe in terms of an injury, but guys are going to get nicked up. And guys, you hope you don't have a situation like you've already had with DJ Reader. He's going to be out, who knows, a month, who knows how many games it's going to be. Maybe it'll be all the way to the bye week. Maybe they'll get him for the final 9 games of the season, 8 games in the bye, or it's 9 games in the bye. It's almost at the midpoint. It's either, 8 or 9 games because there's 17 now, an odd number. But so now you're looking at maybe not having him back until then. Well, that's a significant loss. But other guys stepped up tonight, and if everybody does a little, nobody has to do a lot, and keep guys fresh and more guys that contribute to the cause, the better off you're going to be. And then when DJ Reader comes back, now you've got guys that, DJ can still play at a high level, and you got these other guys that now have some snaps under their belt. They understand what the NFL's all about, and now you can trust them to go in there and play if they need to. Now all of a sudden you got yourself a much deeper football team that can do things for you as the season grinds along, because it gets to be a long season for sure.
You are in the trenches with Dave Lapham, brought to you by First Star Logistics. If you're looking for a new career, be sure to check out firststarlogistics.com, one of the best places in the Cincinnati area to work with. Dave, your final thoughts before we let you go, and you get to have a weekend, a Sunday, no football for you.
Yeah, really. I'll be watching grandkids playing soccer and volleyball and all those kind of things, and some flag football. I'll be watching my other grandson play some flag football, so it'll be kiddie sports, youth sports. Will be a lot of fun. Be checking out the 4 of them doing their thing over the weekend, so that'll be good. Final thought, I guess, would be you're in a situation where you start off 0-2, and Joe Burrow said, folks, let's relax, take it easy. We're going to be fine. It reminded everybody of the Aaron Rodgers famous RELAX, relax. And Joe was right. Here they are, they're 0-2 and lose a big division game that shouldn't have really lost. There's no way they could have won that football game as poorly as they played. And there's a tendency to go back and say, oh man, what if in week 1 and week 2? Well, you can't. You can't go in the past. You have to stay in the present and now go to the future. When the present's done, you've won 2 football games in 5 days. It's hard to win football games in the NFL. And over a 5-day period, you get 2 victories under your belt. That's something to feel good about. Now you get the long weekend off and you go play a big division game. You're 0-1 in the division. You have to go to Baltimore and win a game there and even up the division situation record-wise, because that's the big thing. You have to. The easiest way to qualify for the playoffs is to win the division. If you get into tiebreakers with wild card games and teams and all that stuff, now you're playing. You're not controlling your own destiny. You got other things going on. You got other teams. Boy, I hope this team outscores that team, because boy, we need that to happen for this tiebreaker. Just win your division, and then you're in the playoffs. So, that's what you have to focus on and get back on track that way. But here they are. There's not one team that doesn't have a loss in the AFC after 4 games. Not one. There's only one team in all of football at this stage going into Sunday's action. That's the Philadelphia Eagles that haven't lost a football game. So in the NFL, truly, anybody can beat anybody. And the Bengals are a good example of that. And, if you don't take care of business, if you don't take advantage of, if you don't make plays and keep stubbing your toe and making mistakes, you're going to lose football games. So, bottom line is, it was a trying start, to say the least, but they faced the adversity, they stared it down, and they've worked their way back to even Steven, and they'll go from there. A little mini bye week, a little rest and recovery. The team has Friday, Saturday, Sunday off. I'm sure some guys will be traveling. Some guys will be taking that mini bye and going back home and seeing family and all that good stuff. So I'm old school, Dave. I divide the season, even though it's 17 games, I still divide it into 4 quarters. So after the first quarter, they're 500. They're 2-2, even Steven. Not really haven't accomplished necessarily what you want to accomplish, but you're not out of it by any stretch of the imagination. You're still alive. You're still breathing. You got 3 quarters left, and at halftime, at the midpoint of the season, at that bye week, make sure you got your head above water and you're in good position to finish things in the second half of the season and win that division and get into the playoffs, and then try to defend your AFC championship, and then go to Super Bowl 57, see if you can win it.
Dave, I'm going to let you go on this because if I didn't ask this, I know fans would be upset. One of your keys was the fans. We always expect the nation of the Bengals to come out, especially for a night game, national game. They did that. And then you add in all the excitement of the white tiger, the stadium, the field, the white helmets, and then the Ring of Honor with Isaac Curtis and Willie Anderson. Talk about Bengal Nation coming out and being that 12th man.
It was huge. You got a situation, where the Miami Dolphins had to burn 2 timeouts in the first quarter of the football game because of crowd noise. And when Vonn Bell had his interceptions, Zach Taylor, when I was doing the postgame show with him, he said, we were having trouble communicating our calls because the fans were going so crazy about the turnovers, the interceptions. Said it was like unbelievable. It was a playoff atmosphere. And I've been in both sides of that. I've been in a situation at home where the fans are going crazy, like Super Bowl 16 season. And I'm telling you, the adrenaline rush you get out of that, you feel like you can lift the stadium. I mean, you feel like you're Superman. On the flip side of that, when you're experiencing it as the visiting team, like the Dolphins were tonight, it's almost like you have what's called tinnitus or whatever, with that buzzing in your ears. You're kind of disoriented. You really can't hear, and your brain's not functioning right. You almost get that kind of feeling. It's almost hard to operate. There's so much to overcome to try to stay focused. You certainly can't be laser focused, and it was a huge factor in the football game. And everybody, I know everybody in the locker room, all the players were saying it was incredible. The atmosphere there tonight was incredible. I thought the all white uniforms with the white helmets was a clean, crisp look. I thought they looked fast in those uniforms. It was an interesting dynamic. And then to have 2 guys that I have a healthy dose of respect for going to the Ring of Honor, Isaac Curtis, pure class. This guy was just every sense of the word, as an athlete, as a human being, just pure class. And Isaac goes in, and Willie Anderson, dominant right tackle of his era, goes in as well. I mean, it was a great night for the fans. I'm glad that the Bengals pulled out a victory on national television when the guys went into the Ring of Honor and wearing the all-white uniforms, introducing those white helmets. It was a good night all the way around for Bengals fans. There's no question.
He is Dave Lapham. You have been in the trenches with Dave Lapham following the Bengals' big 27-15 win. In the Trenches is brought to you by First Star Logistics. If you're looking for a new career, be sure to check out firststarlogistics.com. We want to thank everybody who comes to In the Trenches for their following. Subscribe, hit the like button. Dave, let you know we are over 7,000 subscribers and growing. And we want to thank everybody who takes the time to visit In the Trenches with Dave Lapham. For Dave Lapham, this is Dave Berk.
At First Star Logistics, we're a very strict company that really puts the pressure on our employees. Brakes? What are those?
That's what I'm talking about, Icky. get the body right, then the mind's right. You know,
gotta get that body right.
That's right.
Yes, sir.
Become a star with a chance to earn the highest commission percentages in the industry as a freight broker agent. Check out firststarlogistics.com.